We're here today to roll out the BLS Medic Mentorship Program. It's starting off as a pilot. This was kind of born out of an identified need to be regularly checking in with our newest employees in regard to how their skills in EMS are evolving and growing, and putting some regular checks and balances in that whole process. So what you're going to see is there's a packet of information that we have available to you. It'll be made available on the O Drive. And we're going to go through a couple of the forms that are contained in that. The overview form that's available online for you to see, it basically outlines the expectations of the MSO, expectations of the company officer, and then expectations of the medics on duty, which will be regularly involved with this evaluation process, and then right on down to the expectations of the probationary firefighter. One of the first forms that we have is the in-service EMS evaluation. This form is primarily filled out, at least the first couple pages, is filled out by the probationary firefighter, where they'll include their name and the name of the evaluator. Now, this is kind of interesting in that we are putting some of this evaluation in the hands of the people who are riding the response units with them, whether that be the company officer on the engine, the driver on the engine, if they're responding on an engine company to an EMS call, or it can be their partner on the aid car. So as the probationary firefighter works through this form, they'll put in their simple demographic information. There's some simple instructions on the front for the person filling out the evaluation. The rookie firefighter will keep track of all of the calls that they encounter with some just basic information to kind of prompt the evaluator to remember which call that they're talking about. And then there's a comments page in which the evaluator, whether that be crew member, that's a company officer, driver, or firefighter, they can fill out just some overall summary comments, anything from, great job, this employee seems to be progressing well, to any constructive criticism that they may want to offer. And then they'll sign, and the probationary firefighter will also sign to acknowledge that they've discussed that in person, and it's not just falling away from anybody looking at it. Okay, what you'll find here is the overall shift summary of field performance. This comes after the general comments of the shift. And what this does is it walks through different avenues or areas of performance that we want the individual to be assessed on. So things from patient assessment, technical skills, medical knowledge, medical judgment, communication, run management, and management and maintenance of equipment. They will very clearly either be below standard, approaching standard, or at standard. And then there's a spot for any critical fails. Please note that if any critical fails are observed, we'd like for that person to expand on that a little bit in their overall shift summary comments, or somewhere on that summary form. Next, after the shift summary, what we have is an ALS interaction form. This form is kind of kept in reserve for any opportunity in which the new firefighter goes on a call where they have good paramedic interaction, or any paramedic interaction for that matter, where one of our ALS personnel is able to observe them interact on a call that is either an acutely ill patient or a BLS ALS eval, and hopefully the medic is able to offer up a very similar kind of breakdown of areas of focus in which we're going to want that person to be assessed, but more in the interest of how did they roll into a call that involved ALS partners as well. So the last item that we'll cover is the progress meeting component of this, and this is really a pretty important part to the entire process. This is an hour that we would like to have carved out every 48-hour shift that the new employee is working. And in the first half an hour, we'd like for the paramedic to really host a roughly about a 30-minute ad hoc training session in which they will go through items that line up with the current CPT modules, and a laundry list of other things that we will, it'll be a list that we will have compiled and made available to the medics that will be running the new employees through these progress meetings. in order to ensure some degree of consistency while still allowing for our individual ALS providers to kind of provide their own flair and add their own experience and their own tidbits of knowledge. So, that being said, the last half an hour of that meeting is intended to be kind of a documentation back and forth, really getting into the progress and where we've been, where we're at, and where we're going to go with the development of this new employee. So on the form, you will find a pretty simple form. Should be shared both electronically and in hard copy. The hard and fast expectation is going to be that the new employee keeps a hard copy in the back of their rookie book that will have been filled out and then carried forward to the next progress meeting, in which the next sheet will be built off of. The first item that you see on top of the form is the carryover items from last set, where you'll have an opportunity to kind of look and see what was brought forward from the last meeting, any homework assignments, any study that they were expected to do, any questions that still left to be answered over the period of time that's passed since their last progress meeting. And then in the center section, you'll see that there's a brief little area for you to describe just the training that was done in the progress meeting that you're in. Just briefly describe what the topic of conversation was, or what the topic of the training was. That way it's documented. And then lastly, we'll have kind of a progress summary. So this is an area in which you can comment on how the employee is progressing and any carry forward items. So if there's any specific homework assignments, questions that you'd like to have answered, or anything of that nature, this is a good place to put it. And as well as your overall kind of gestalt about how the employee is doing, whether they are meeting the objectives or need work in specific areas. And then that way, this is carried forward to their next progress meeting. So in summary, we've covered basically the program as a whole, right? We've kind of walked through a little bit of what the expectations and the intent of the program is. We have a couple forms that we've walked through. There'll be one form that will be the responsibility of the aid car or engine partner to observe the new employee and provide some feedback there. There is another form for ALS interaction. So any of the calls that they have the fortune of going on and having an ALS personnel be able to evaluate them, there's a form for each one of those calls, each one of those interactions. And then lastly, there'll be a progress meeting form, which will be filled out by the medic on duty that's able to tie in with them, and that's a form that'll be carried forward. So again, this program is a pilot, and we're excited to be taking such a vested interest in fostering really good EMS providers, and I think this is going to be a great way for us to do that. So thank you so much for your time, and good luck. Hit me up with questions.